week at More Yoga. I'm Dr. Stephanie Minchin, and I have the pleasure today of interviewing Rosa Connor of Haptivate. So Haptivate is a charity and organisation that work with wellbeing and mental health in businesses. And Rosa and I know each other from the last couple of years doing our yoga therapy training together. So throughout our course of very long, intensive yoga weekends, we have become friends and have continued to share our working practices in the world of, I suppose, yoga, positive psychology, and well-being. So, Rosa, would you just like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, of course. So I run a company called Haptivate, and we support organisations to improve the well-being of their staff. So we work with individuals to help them to feel a little bit happier about going into work. So I don't know if you've ever had that experience, maybe you've ever been in a job and you just wake up and you have that kind of feeling of dread of like, oh, I don't want to go in. So we help people to deal with that so that they actually do want to wake up and go to work. Because did you know that in our lifetimes we spend about 80,000 hours at work? Yeah, so that's what we do. And then we also help organisations to improve the culture of their workplace so that it's an inviting atmosphere. And organisations might put in place, for example, wellbeing strategies to really improve their working space for their employees. So we love that. We do mainly training. We were doing a lot of in-person workshops before the pandemic hit, and now we have moved all of our webinars online. So we're learning how to maximize and utilize the online space.
Yeah, it's new to all of us, that's for sure. What was it that kind of brought you to your work at Haptivate? What's been your kind of journey through sort of working in mental health over recent years?
Yeah, so it was a personal journey, really. I used to really struggle with my self-esteem. I used to feel quite unhappy, and I had never got to the point where I was engaging with mental health services. But that didn't mean that I was unhappy and there was something that could be done, but I just felt like there wasn't much available for me. So I started a journey of kind of exploring yoga, meditation, positive psychology through reading. I traveled quite a bit, spoke to people about it, did the classic, went to India. So I kind of discovered it for myself, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is so important. This is really, really helping me, and wanted to share it with as many people as possible. And at the time, I was in a job that I was really struggling with. And I was applying the tools that I had learned. And what was very interesting was my external circumstances didn't really change that much in the job that I was in. I was in the same role, same people, pretty much, but my whole experience was completely different. And I just thought this was magic, and I wanted to share it with as many people as possible. So I committed to learning as much as I could, training as a yoga teacher, a mindfulness teacher, a coach, a yoga therapist. And these things have been quite challenging for me because I'm not particularly academic. But I think it's really important that if we want to share these tools with as many people as possible, that we just wanted to learn as much as I could.
Yeah, it's amazing because what I'm hearing is about the internal shift that these practices brought to you. So even though the external didn't change, it was something about the internal, whether it's sort of, values or the things that you were doing, and probably all these different learnings as well. And of course, bearing in mind that Mental Health Awareness Week is focused on kindness, I was wondering if that's one of your values and how you practice kindness.
Absolutely. So kindness and compassion absolutely are one of my core values, and I try to practice it in whatever way I can, and it comes up in different ways. So sometimes kindness is not beating myself up too much. and letting go of some of the pressure that I put on myself, and saying, you know, forgiving myself, like it's okay that sometimes I make mistakes. But sometimes self-kindness is like, no, wake up, get out of bed, pay that bill. And actually it does kind of, it shows up in different ways for me, and I'm constantly being surprised and constantly learning. But it's absolutely integral to my life. Like I wouldn't be able to function if I didn't practice self-kindness and also kindness to others, because you know, we are social beings, and the way that we connect with each other is integral to our survival. So being kind to others is just such a nice thing to do, really. But not only is it just a nice thing to do, it's just vital. You know, we wouldn't be able to survive as a species if we didn't do it.
I think there's such important points about it being integral to us as social beings, that social connection, the way of relating, that sense of community. And almost sort of touching on this idea of survival and mental health, do you think there's a correlation between mental health and kindness?
Yeah, absolutely. So there is evidence to suggest that practicing compassion releases oxytocin and activates our parasympathetic system, which is the part of our nervous system that's linked to safety and relaxation. And often when we are in poor mental health, we can have problems accessing that part of our nervous system. We can be stressed and quite anxious a lot of the time because we're not regulating that nervous system. That was definitely the case for me. So absolutely there is a link between kindness and mental health, and they've even done some studies where they people reported getting less sick when they felt that they had more kindness in their lives. So obviously there's a link between physical and mental health, higher levels of immunity, and better social capital. So having people that we can call on and a sense of community is really important for our mental health, but also knowing that we are part of that and we can contribute to a group, that we can contribute to society, that we're doing things for others, makes us feel really good. They call it the helper's high. Have you heard of that before?
No, but I like that. The helper's
high. So you get a hit of oxytocin, you get a hit of dopamine when you do a kind act for someone else.
Well, that's a high that we all want to be on, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Right, so I love how you brought in some of the research, some of the science, because that's, of course, you know, what we've been learning, especially with the yoga therapy over the last couple of years. And I know part of our little sort of toolkit is, you know, lots and lots of meditation exercises. And I wondered, you mentioned compassion as well. If you'd like to share something with us and the viewers today, that would be really lovely.
Yeah, absolutely. So compassion meditation has been very highly researched. If you Google David Richardson, quite a lot will come up, which is very, very cool, that when we practice compassion meditation daily, it changes the brain and it improves our resilience so that we're more likely to have a positive outlook and bounce back quicker from difficulties. I just think this is amazing. I'm like, wow, practicing compassion. Great. So I practice it regularly, and during lockdown, what I have noticed is that I have felt a little bit helpless. I've wanted to go out and be near people. I've wanted to get that sort of hit of oxytocin that you get from closeness and connection. So I've had to be a little bit creative with how I access that within myself. And I've been doing this practice, which is a very ancient practice. And it really helps me to feel connected to myself, to lower my stress levels. But it's also a really nice way of thinking about others, sending them some love and compassion, and then potentially calling them up afterwards and letting them know, like, oh, hey, by the way, I've just been thinking about you. It's a wonderful gift of kindness that you could give somebody. So this is a very simple visualization exercise. I'll talk you through it, but it will take us about 5 minutes, 5-6 minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. So I'll practice alongside if you want to
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just talk you through it very quickly so that you know what to expect. You have to think of somebody that you care about. This could be somebody that you know, or it could be somebody that you've heard about on TV, on the news, somebody that you're thinking about, a healthcare professional, a homeless person, for example, or it could be a family member. It could be somebody that you just want to send a little bit of care and compassion to today. And so just have a think about that as we go through this exercise. So getting into a position that feels comfortable to you. So I like to have, if I'm sitting in a chair, I like to have both feet flat on the ground, and just take a moment to become aware of any sound that you might be able to hear in the room. And see if you can try to practice with compassion, just accepting them for how they are. Not trying to change or have a story about it. Just trying to accept those sounds for what they are. And then see if you can turn your attention to any sounds perhaps outside of the room in the street. And again, see if you can just practice accepting those sounds with compassion. And then perhaps see if you can turn your focus to the sound of the bell. Let's take a deep breath in together and a deep breath out. Focus on the sensations on the bottom of your feet. And imagine that your feet are a little bit heavy, connected to the ground, keeping you safe. And then turn your attention to your hips and allow your hips to sink a little bit deeper and relax into the floor or your seat in the chair. And then turn your attention to your shoulders, allow your shoulders to melt away from the ears. And then allow the jaw to relax and the lips to curve gently upwards in a smile. And this act of relaxing your body is a wonderful act of compassion. Place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly, and begin to notice as your breath comes in. Where rises, is your chest rising, is your belly rising? And see if you can focus your attention on the hand that's placed on your belly. See if you can notice the sensations there. On an inhale, noticing that the belly rises, and on an exhale, the belly falls. Inhale, the belly rises. Exhale, the belly falls. And then bring to mind somebody in your life or that you think of that you'd like to send some compassion to. So the first stage is just to visualize them as best you can in your mind's eye and see if you can connect to perhaps what they might be going through. And then see if you can imagine that that was transforming. So perhaps we take a deep breath in, and on the exhale we imagine that that person's face is transforming into happiness or safety or warmth. Maybe they're smiling, maybe they're relaxing their face. Just imagining that that person is filled with safety, with warmth, with compassion, almost as if they've been given the nicest hug. And just watch in your mind's eye that transformation. And then turn your attention to the hand by your heart and notice any sensations in the heart. And then imagine that that person who's feeling so loved right in this moment turns to you and sends all of that love and compassion back to you because they're so grateful that you've sent that. And they wish for you exactly what you wish for them. Sending love and compassion to you. And observe any sensations that come up in the body, perhaps in the hand by the heart, perhaps in the hand by the belly. And you can say the words to this person who's wishing such love and compassion to you. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be free from suffering. And just mentally repeat that. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be free from suffering. And if you want to, you can repeat those words to yourself. May I be happy. May I be well. May I be free from suffering. And notice the sensations that arise in the body when you say those words. And try, if you can, to welcome them in. Just observing with compassion the experience. And then take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And say goodbye to this person that you are sending love and compassion to. And they're off on their way, feeling so nice and happy and warm, knowing that you can call them back into your mind's eye whenever you wish to. Temporary goodbye. And then turn your attention inwards to the body. Notice the sensations in the body. Turn your attention to your breath and notice your breath as it comes in and out. Turn your attention to the room. Notice any sounds that you can hear in the room. Perhaps you can hear some sounds outside of the room. Perhaps you could even turn your attention to the sound of the bell. Feel free to gently open your eyes if they were closed. Maybe you want to have a little stretch. And that's the practice.
Oh, that was wonderful. It's always such a gift when I get to practice these things with my friends. I certainly felt a softening in the body and the tingling sensations heart. That was lovely, Rosa. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for practicing and inviting me to share this today.
So that's a gift that we're sort of offering out to our more yoga community. If people would like to hear more from you or connect with you, where can they find you?
So if you visit our website, www.haptivate.co.uk, you can check us out there and our services that we offer. We also run a weekly Facebook Live. So if you go to our Facebook page on Haptivate, we have a